Good morning, everyone. This is Bruno. I'm super happy to be with all of you today, and welcome to the SAP Business Objects Digital Summit. We're going to have an awesome time today. This event is live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. Today, I'm not in Boston, as you're used to seeing me, but I'm in the awesome city of Strasbourg, France. It's based, for the people who don't know, in the eastern part of France, next to Germany, Switzerland, and it's known for its smelly Munster cheese, its wine, and the great Christmas market. Today, looks like the event was really popular. People love BOBJ because we've got over 500 people that have signed up for the event. So I tell you, we're going to have a lot of fun. I'll tell you that. So, and I just want to make sure that all of you guys, love BOBJ and you love BOBJ with 360 Suite. So we're going to have a lot of fun all day long today. So, Patrick, I knew you'd like that.
I do like that.
And also today, so the event, anyways, you can see it on the Wiiisdom channel on YouTube. And to check it on YouTube, it's Wiiisdom with not one eye, not with two eyes, but actually with three eyes. That's always better than one. So Wiiisdom with three eyes. And make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest BOBJ innovation, customer success stories, and a lot more. And the link actually is going to be shared shortly by Chris, who's in the backstage, so that you can go on it. Additionally, today we're going to have a virtual booth that will be available during the event. You can go on at any time to check the agenda, download the presentation, and find some bunch of resources or chat with us. The virtual booth is actually on booth.wiiisdomwith3eyes.com. And as you probably noticed now, 360 Suite is Wiiisdom 360 Suite. So today we'll have 5 different sessions. The first one is going to be with Patrick Sims that you see right now. The second session is going to, and it's going to be around 4.3 SP2. The second session is going to be a live upgrade from 4.2 SP8 to BI 4.3 SP2. The third session is going to be around analytics, is going to be on analytics op, the weak link in your data strategy. The fourth session is going to be around metadata in data services and in BOBJ. The fifth session, the final session of the day, will be around IBCS. And what is IBCS and why does it make sense to use it for reporting? So during the entire day, we're going to have some bunch of quizzes just to have fun, and each time you'll be able to win a $10 Amazon gift card. So, Chris, do you want to start with the first quiz before we get things kicking with Patrick? For this quiz, and as all the other quiz, just make sure that you put the answers in the comment box. So the first question is, when was SAP Business Objects created? Actually, I should say, when was Business Objects created, in fact, prior to the acquisition? So please feel free to put this in the comment box, and then whoever gets the closest or the exact date anyway, will get a $10 Amazon gift card. And Chris will contact you through a private chat and get all your details, and we'll get that sent to you through email. Patrick, let's get things started. So tell me what's new in 4.3 SP2.
Well, fair enough. Thank you, Bruno. And by the way, you were in one of my ancestral homes, Strasbourg. The non-Irish part of me is actually traced back to a Strasbourg butcher. So there we go.
That's good.
Yes. So good morning, everyone. Patrick Sims, SAP. You've seen me on this with Bruno before, so happy to be here again to share with you what's coming out in December with BOBJ 4.3 Service Pack 2. The usual disclaimer, I will be talking about futures, so don't make your buying decisions based on those futures because they are subject to change at any time for us. And the other key thing, and you should put this on your glasses too, Bruno, SAP is committed to continue to invest in the on-premise BI suite. I cannot say that enough. In fact, we got reports this week that MicroStrategy is already passing FUD that BOBJ is dead as of 2022. So let's end that. I'm sorry, go ahead, Bruno.
You know what the funny story is? At the time when 4.2 was out, I remember I was at Sapphire, and then MicroStrategy.
Tragedy, come on.
MicroStrategy at the time was saying, "Oh, BOBJ is dead," and they were saying some bunch of things. And the funny thing is, on that day, their stock market was dying, or was really dropping. So actually, I replied to them, showing their stock market, and the SAP stock on that day was going up, skyrocket, and it was rather popular. And I never heard back from them again. So
fair enough.
If it's the only way they've got to get some customers, it's good for them.
But yeah, just to put the hammer on the nail, BOBJ is still here to stay. So fear not. That's why we're here today. That's why we're touting all the good stuff that we're doing with 4.3. So to that note, though, why is there some confusion out there? Well, we do actually have two key solutions in our portfolio. SAP Analytics Cloud, is out there if you are looking to do a cloud solution that is built from the cloud up, cloud purposed and ready to go. Some are liking to move that way. But for those who don't want to move that way right away or want to go at your own pace, Business Objects BI Suite remains, and it is still the most scalable and enterprise level reporting solution that's out there. Webby is still the most used tool in the BI space. So where are we investing? Well, certainly we're investing in each of the individual tool sets, but also a key thing for us is we're investing in interoperability between the two. So that's from a user standpoint, from a platform standpoint, universes, data, whatever we can do to make sure that if you do start to move towards SAC, that you can continue to reuse your investment in business objects. And so that it's not sunk cost, and really it's a way to extend BOBJ versus trying to rip and replace. So why 4.3? And I'll assume, since we're talking about Service Pack 2, that most of you have been here with us before, so you at least know about 4.3 and Service Pack 1. But I will reaffirm the key themes of 4.3 without going into too much detail. And the first is in the middle, I think, and most important. The user experience was massively overhauled in 4.3. Couple of things there. Number one, we modernized it and made it simple again, if you will, without any loss of capability. That's huge to me because I think, we all know that Webby is it's an ad hoc query and analysis tool. And so in that sense, it is self-service. But with the rise of the tableaus and some of those other more simplistic interfaces, I think we lost some of that allure to some, and it became too complicated to others who are trying to come in for the first time to see Webby. So we simplified the user experience, but all the capabilities are still there. It is still the Cadillac of BI tools. But also, in so doing, we harmonized the user experience with SAC so that a new person to Business Objects Analytics would be comfortable in both Webby and SAP Analytics Cloud because they look and feel the same. They have similar windows and panels that come in from the right side. There are a lot of things that we've done to try and harmonize that, which we've been advertising that we wanted to do for at least a decade or more. And I have been with the company about 19 years now via Business Objects. So that's all good stuff. I think that what we've done with the user experience is huge. I think 4.3 is a pleasure to work with. And then the other two pillars were hybrid, so that interoperability that we talked about investing in, hybrid use cases, tight integration between BOBJ and the SAC platform. And then, of course, the old enterprise readiness, we're always trying to continually improve anything from audit to lessening downtime for upgrades and migrations and things like that. So,
hey, Patrick,
yes, sir.
To the first quiz question, the quickest answer came from Adrian Egger Adam. I hope I pronounce it properly. And Adrian, Chris is going to chat with you through the private chat and to send you the gift card. And just before we move on, I'd be interested to hear from the audience on which BOBJ version they are on today. So
Oh, yes, always a great question.
as long as you're not on XR2, you're good.
Right. I've only seen that recently in Asia, so there were some Japanese customers who were still on a R2 as of a year and a half ago.
Yeah, that I'm not overly surprised. I've seen
Right.
generally there that they were behind on versions. So yeah,
Fair enough.
completely
Okay.
Patrick's hand.
All right, so those are the key themes for 4.3. I'm hoping that some of you have at least tried it or are still looking to move to it now that we've got Service Pack 2 coming out. So let's talk about Service Pack 2 in terms of catch-up features. So for those of you who did not go to Service Pack 1, or for those of you who saw this presentation about a year ago, you'll know that there were some things from 4.2 that did not make it into Service Pack 1 for 4.3. And most of them are back. So I'm happy to report that today. So shared elements, extension points, freezing headers, Zob. Oh, here, Bruno. Throw this question out for the old BOBJ crowd. Who can tell us what Zabo means? If anyone remembers Zabo mode for the Webby Rich client.
I have no clue. I have to tell you that, Patrick. So yeah, let's see what people
See if anyone
comment
comes
on, but
back
I've
with
got no
anything.
idea.
And then so query as a web service and document as a web service, they're sort of back. They're being replaced by OData as a web service, and we'll talk about that as we get into the presentation. And then
Actually, I have the answer, Patrick. I have somebody who's cheating in my ear and
Okay.
telling me the answer, but I won't bring it up. So looks like, hold on. I think Andrew Fox. I think that's the first answer I see. Andrew Fox, 0 admin business objects.
Absolutely. There it is. So yes, Zabo was very big in the 3.x timeframe, and we are bringing back that concept with Webby Rich Client in 4.3 Service Pack 2.
Are you bringing back Desky or something as well, or
No.
not?
I'm sure there are those who are wishing for that, but no, alas, no. Okay, so just good to know that most of the catch-up features that had been missing from 4.2 into 4.3 up till now will show up for you in Service Pack 2. Okay, so let's get down and dirty into what is new. And so here's the summary level of the things that we'll be talking about and showing you as well as we go through the next hour or so. So report display enhancements were big, right? You already saw in the list before, freezing of headers, for instance, and then some various other things. Shared elements, we'll talk about those. Exposing Webby data through OData web services. New data sources available via Webby. Unified workflows. So we'll talk about the query panels and objects enrichment post-query. Webby Rich clients back. Usability enhancements, and then, of course, semantic layer and new data connections, and then SDKs, extensions, and custom elements. So we'll talk about all of those and show you some of that too. Okay, so first up, report display enhancements. So freeze header was one of the most frequently requested things to be brought back by you, the customers. So we listened, and here we are. So freezing of headers is back, very simple. It's available in both the reading and the design or edit mode. So it's very easy to do individually by block, or you can do it for all tables, and we'll show you that in just a moment. Just provides smooth scrolling then as you're going down through the table and leaving those headers there in place. I know it seems like a little thing, but so many of you have been asking for it because it is a frustration when you don't have it. So it is there. Hidden reports and report descriptions. So in design mode, you'll be able to take a report or a tab, however you like to describe it, and you can hide it or auto hide it based on certain criteria that you'd put into place. That is a useful feature that appeared in 4.2 that many of you wanted back. So there it is. And we've got even a new function for formula language that does a report description function call. But we'll show you that. It's very easy to use, very easy to deploy. Presentation mode is another popular thing that's come out in recent years. And so it's a way to, we now have the ability to extend the auto refreshing of stories, charts and individual charts or reports tabs in the presentation mode. And it's available, you can do it from both your reading and design mode again. So that's a huge thing too. You do not have to be in design mode and editing to enable presentation mode and do the auto refresh capabilities. There are different options for you in terms of how it presents in terms of screen display. We hide all the warnings except in the refresh bar, and the hidden aspect mentioned on the prior slide, that's always invoked accordingly. So it's a great way for presenting of the content that you've built in Webby.
Hey, by the way, folks, we've got also the product owner of Webby who's on behind, and if you got some questions to be asking him, he's going to be more than happy to answer to these questions. So feel free to ask all the questions, and Gregory will definitely answer to you.
And of course, Gregory provided me these slides, so if I'm screwing anything up, Gregory, please do chime in as well. But think of him as the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the screen for me here. Hyperlinks. Who doesn't love a nice hyperlink, right? So those are back as well. And so we've got the nice dialog box for them, the ability to open in the current window, all the good stuff. And the key thing here is that you do not need to go into the CMC and enable JavaScript anymore to do an intra-document link. It's just something that's natively done there because we're all HTML5 now anyway. But it's there in the dialog box, and it's good to see that that's back. And we'll go ahead and we'll show you that when we get into the environment here shortly. Shared elements are back. Look at all this stuff that's back. It's just good stuff. So shared elements we introduced in 4.2, very popular, right? So shared element is something that you can create in the repository that, think of it as a chart with all of the backup universe selections and all those things. So it's a great way to cobble together, let's say Bruno and Gregory are out there doing great work in Webby, and I want to grab just a couple of their charts. Shared elements is a great way for me to do that by simply grabbing those things, not having to replicate the query panel, all that stuff. I just grab those charts that they've built from their documents, so they're shared elements, and there we go. So it's good to know that those are back. Here's information that you'll get in the slides about where to do things in the side panels and such, but I'm going to show you how to do this. So we'll not belabor that.
Hey, Patrick,
Yes,
to
sir.
the question around which SP, audience is on, definitely pretty much everyone is still on 4.2.
Okay.
And SP7 or SP6, SP7, SP8, and a few people are on 4.3 SP1. To which, when is SP2 coming out? Do you have any date on that?
December, I think. I don't know if we can go any
good.
more granular than that, but it's coming out in a month.
Okay, that's nice.
Yes, definitely.
And I see also to our question around when BOBJ was created, I think the worst answer was from John LeBlanc. And John, since I'm in France, I just didn't wear my my Boston Red Sox cap today, although I've got my Husker cap. And John, if you want, because you had the worst answer of all, we can probably send you. I know you're a Yankee fan, and I'd be more than happy to send you either a Braves hat or a Boston Red Sox hat if you want. So just let me know. I'm sure you'd appreciate that.
It wasn't 2008 as an answer, was it?
No, you put like 1940 or 1948 or something like that. So John was very creative. We have to give him credit for that. So
yeah, if anyone said 2008, I'd have to be very upset with that. So okay. So again, more on how to do the shared elements, and that brings us to demo number 1. So Chris, if you could help me out here, I need to switch my screen for just a quick second.
Chris is working on, I think, giving you the proper access to that. So
okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Well, while we're waiting on that, is I'd be interested to know who's on Windows and who's on Linux today in BOBJ. And there is a reason behind my question, so please let us know if you're on Windows or Linux. The reason behind is actually we see more and more customers going to the SAP Business Object Private Cloud Edition, so also called the PCE, which is essentially it's business object managed by SAP, typically on hyperscalers such as AWS, Google, or Azure. And in order to be on PCE, you need to be on 4.3 and do, of course, the migration to PCE, and you need to be on Linux. So that's the reason behind my question. So I'd be interested to know. Okay, I see a lot of Windows. And by the way, if you guys are on the cloud as well, I'd be interested to know if you're on the cloud and really where you guys are. So traditionally, I think like 80% of the customers were, I think, on Windows, if I'm correct, Patrick. So,
I think that's about right. Yep. Yeah. And I apologize, my Chrome is not responding right now. So
yeah, we'll get that worked out. So as long as you don't need to reboot, I think we're all good. Right. If not, it's going to be a lot more fun. So that's good.
I may have to leave the call and come back in though, because it's just stuck in a loop right now.
And which is totally fine. So if you need to,
all right, if I
relaunch, just go for it, Patrick.
Very good. I'll be back.
No problem. So while Patrick is reconnecting, so the next session that we'll have will be with Patrick Perrier, who's actually responsible of the product at Wiiisdom 360 Suite. And Patrick is actually going to do a live upgrade from 4.2 SP8 to 4.3 SP2. So SAP made a version available for him so that he can actually do that upgrade. So that will be pretty nice. So Patrick, are you back on or not yet? Patrick Sims, no, obviously not, which is fine. Well, Chris, probably we should go for a second quiz while Patrick is trying to connect. What is the next quiz, Chris? Well, it looks like Chris is not available. Well, Patrick Perrier, do you want to talk about the next session that you're going to present while Patrick Sims is trying to connect?
Hear me?
Which Patrick?
Hey, Bruno.
Okay,
it's the Patrick from London.
You mean the real Patrick?
The real Patrick, yes. Right. So a bit of technical problems with the other one, right?
Definitely.
The only Patrick is back. Come on.
Welcome back, Patrick.
I'm just kidding, Patrick.
I was going to give spoiler of my next session, but right, I'll let you guys continue and come back in half an hour.
Okay, let's go for it, Patrick. Are you okay to share your screen again?
Seems like it. Can you guys see the launch pad?
Yeah, we can.
Very good. All right, so let's sign in and let's do some of this new stuff. All right. And here's the new launch pad for those of you who have played with this. Even, I'm not sure if you all know, but those of you on 4.2, you actually have an alternative URL that you can use that brings up kind of the precursor to this Launchpad experience for you if you wanted to start to try and test that out before you move into 4.3. So let's go ahead and look at some fold and unfold, and I can go to my folders. We're going to freeze our headers. We're going to do some of that good, just simple report interface stuff. So I've got my public folder with demos and Wiiisdom. So here we'll open this pre-built report that Gregory and I worked on yesterday. Come on, baby. It's coming. Goodness gracious.
Hey, Patrick, I was just checking again on all the answers. Is definitely it's Windows that is winning.
Okay.
In terms of cloud, I see some Azure, I see some AWS, but I think I see a little more Azure than AWS. So,
Okay.
which, funny enough, in the past,
I'm also,
output.
I'm also curious if anyone is doing BOBJ in the cloud on their own right now, like through Amazon or someone else. Just intrigued by that.
Well, I see, for example, I see Elena is actually on Windows and on Azure. So, Elena, if you want to share, how your experience is with hosting on Azure, we'd be interested to get some comments in the chat box on that. And if any of you, in fact, are on the cloud, on Azure or AWS, please share some feedback and also let us know how the performance are going on that, because I know in some cases it can be a concern, and that really depends more of the architecture. So,
okay. All right, so here we are in the environment. For those of you who've played with it, you know that we're in reading mode right now. And one of the first things you might see is fold and unfold is back. And I didn't mention that slides yet because it's later in the deck, but good for you to know that it's here. So I can set my folds and my unfolds. If I right mouse click, you can see that it's year that I'm folding on here. So there we go. We've rolled up 2016 and we have the appropriate aggregation. Here I'm rolling up on state. And again, proper aggregation. As you can see, it's not for every state. You can cherry pick those things that you want to fold or unfold. So just good to know that that's back. And then to undo it, just click again in the same space. So then we come to freeze headers. So a couple of different things we can do. So first and foremost, and again, it's whether I'm in reading mode right now or if I'm in design mode, which I'll show you in a sec. I've got my ability up here to freeze all table headers if that's what I wanted to do. So I can click that without even having to think about it, because it's just something I might want to do for my reports. And if I now scroll down, you'll see that the first headers are staying in place for the upper tables until we lose them. And then we still have the same going forward. So there it is, proof in the pudding that it's back. If I don't want to do it that way, maybe there's just something, a different, one block or another that I want to have freeze. I can do my right mouse click for the contextual menu, and there's the same icon. It then lets me actually freeze and decide how many columns I want to do as well. I just said 0, didn't I? Let's see what happens. No, we're still good there. So it's freezing the header row. And if we were to go left or right, then it would freeze columns for us as well. And then finally, if I go into edit mode or design mode, then the same capabilities are there still too, right? So I've got the freeze all headers, or I can right mouse click and freeze header as well. So just proof that it's back for those of you who were worried about it. And again, it seems like a small thing, but I know that a lot of you were really asking for it. So it's good for you to know that it is back.
Hey, by the way, I see Elena is saying that she's been on Azure for 1 year and works great. They're testing 4.3. And Elena, so there are no performance issues. It's all good, I'm assuming. And Shalaba is saying that he's done, I guess, multiple migration on AWS, and he says it basically has worked great. So
that's great to know. Good for us when we talk about PCE later on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now let's look into the hiding of reports. So I'm going to just take this breaks report and I'm going to duplicate it. twice.
Patrick, looks like your connection is really slow today.
Okay.
Since I'm in, you know what? Since I'm in France, I can probably send you some snails when I get back.
A little escargot. I appreciate that.
I know.
All right, so I'm going to rename this one Autohide. And I'm going to call this one Hide. Okay, so first I'll go to the hide, and I want to go to properties and the report element format specifically, and down here below layout, I've got my hide options, and for this one, I'm going to hide always. Okay, and apply that. And for the auto hide, yes.
Patrick, there is Deep
Lag.
Mandalia asking, can you please share how the California and Texas fold and unfold? Is this possible? Can you show that since you were on that?
How to do it, how to create it.
No, how to fold it and unfold it.
Oh,
apparently.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Just a sec. Let me do this auto hide. Then we'll do view mode, and I'll fold and unfold. So here we want to auto hide based on a formula. So I'm going to type a formula in, and I can see from the chart that the only year that's showing is 2016. So I'll consider that something I know to be true. So I'm just going to, if the year is 2016, then I'm going to hide it, check my formula, click OK. So in theory, both of these tabs should go missing when I go into reading mode, correct? Correct. Okay. Except AutoHide did not, and that's why, because I did not apply. So let me come back. Let's apply that. Now let's look at it. It's still the, oh gosh, do I have another year on there somewhere? Worked for me last night, of course. Okay. But you get the gist, right? So you can put formulae in that can, if gross revenue is greater than a certain amount, then hide this report. There are various things that you might want to do to do the either hide always or by formula. The fold unfold. So we've got these icons that are popping up whenever a fold exists, right? And so here it's telling us that we have a fold break on values by year. So I can fold that simply by clicking that icon. So now 26 is rolled up. And here, and you can see it's a different icon, right? This is telling us what it's doing. And this is the icon to actually do it. So the chevron, kind of the downward chevron to do folding or unfolding is there. And then this is an informational, tells you whether we're folding rows and what we're breaking the values on to do the fold. So here it's by state, but specific states, not all states. So there's California, and here's California again. Good?
Awesome. And by the way, we just had a question from Suresh. So yes, this session is live, of course, but is also recorded, and you can check it out on Wiiisdom with 3 I's. So Wiiisdom YouTube channel afterwards. So, and please feel free to ask all your questions. We're not taking all the questions with Patrick, but behind we've got Gregory, who's the product owner of Webby, and he'll be answering to all the questions. And if he can't do it today, basically he will be answering to you guys afterwards. Let's move on, Patrick.
Sure. So the next one, we're going to talk about charting, and we're going to look at presentation mode, auto refresh, and some shared elements. So opening up. So, and by the way, this particular chart, this report that Gregory presented with me yesterday has all sorts of, this is not your father's Webby anymore, right? Look at, KPI charts are types now that we have, formatting of series in a better way.
Oh, it's cool.
Yep.
It's a dashboard, so.
Right,
Very
exactly.
Nice.
Which is a
Very
great point,
nice.
right? Because Wiiisdom has presented before how to use Webby as a great lightweight dashboarding tool, which I totally agree with. I think, it's wasted to not show that Webby does have a lot of compelling visualizations now as well and capabilities there.
And you don't need to buy extra licenses, correct? You do
Exactly.
that through Webby. Okay.
Right. So, just some examples of charts that we have, but let's go back to Geo. Okay, so let's go now to presentation mode, which I'm going to open from the menu bar above. And so we have our refresh and display capabilities as well as what we want to show. So let's say we wanted to look at the summary, the geo maps, and the KPI charts. And let's say we wanted to not show the refresh bar. We'll display it in full screen. And so we're going to switch from report to report after 5 seconds. 5 seconds currently is the minimum, but I think Gregory was indicating that they want to try and go down to like 1 second or 2 as well. So we're just not there yet. And here, let's auto refresh the entire document after, say, 1 minute. I'm going to click OK. So I'm now moving into full screen presentation mode, starting with summary. And then in about 5 seconds, we should go to the geo maps. Oh, well, that was the first. So we've just done the first 5 seconds. See it blink again. So now to geo maps. And then we should go to the next one. So for those of you who like to use presentation mode, it's a great little feature for us to share your work in an open environment. And so let me go back to geo maps, and let's get into shared elements now, right? So I'm going to define this chloropleth chart as a shared element. I do that in design mode. Okay, so I'm going to right mouse click on the chart, go down to my shared element contextual menu, and save as. Pretty straightforward. I'm going to save it into that demo folder with Wiiisdom that I've been using. And I'm going to call it PJS Geo. Save it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and close this report, open another one, and utilize that shared element. And it's okay if I don't want to save it. All right, so now we'll open this new document, which I kind of cobbled together a page from some of the various different charts that we saw on the prior report. So, you see all these different ones that we looked at. And again, it's not your usual Webby visuals, right? So here, let's go ahead and insert. And I need to be in design mode to do that insertion. I'm going to insert a shared element. And then there's my PJS Geo. So I'm going to insert that. I'm going to put it right here up top. And boom, it's that simple.
And the way to do these dashboards, has it changed a lot since 4.2 SP6, Patrick?
The biggest change, for those of you who haven't played with it, and you've seen me kind of moving to the right side of the screen, we used to have everything on the left in kind of a accordion file style. Now everything that's key to you is on the right-hand side. So there's the main panel, which has your dimensions, your structure and things like that, right? It's got the report structure, the overall structure, and then this wrench is your design panel, which is where you get to object properties and that kind of a thing. So
Probably,
these two panels. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So probably one of these is it'll be interesting to do maybe a session or something around building dashboards in Webby. If you guys have some interest, please feel free to put a comment, and it's something maybe we can look into in the future. So if you got some interest to do a session around building dashboards in Webby, we'd be happy to arrange that.
That'd be great. Okay, so we also talked about hyperlinking being back. So why don't we take a look at that? So let's say I wanted to turn this text into a hyperlink. So there it is again. A lot of the key things for you in the 4.3 environment, again, to Bruno's point, of different than 4.2. Right mouse clicking gives you contextual menus. So only those things that you can do to the chart or block that you are right mouse clicking on will show up for you. And so here in this case, we didn't see hyperlink before because we weren't looking at text, but now let's go ahead and do that. So I want to add a hyperlink. So you can do it to a target URL, you can do it to an open document statement, whatever you like, or you can actually, within the report itself, let's say we wanted to go to the raw data behind this, right? And so that should be easy enough to do. So nice dialog box, simple to use. And now this is a hyperlink for us, right? So back in viewing mode, if I click on that hyperlink, it takes me to the raw data page, right? Again, simple, but and not terribly huge to some, but very huge to others, right? I was always a huge fan of hyperlinking, especially if we're drilling out to detail versus just having a fold on fold because the data was too big, right? I always like that. Okay. And then one last thing, there's another type of link that a lot of people like to do now, which is element linking. So the hyperlink is great, especially if you're going to detail, but what about from a dashboard mentality, if you wanted to make sure that selection or filtering of a certain object would lead to the other objects on that page being filtered accordingly? So if I go to facelift, let me come back here, back in design mode. So back on my chloropleth chart, I'm going to right mouse click once again, and you see, so for example, you see that hyperlink is missing from my options because it's not appropriate for this type of chart. But element link is, and I'm going to add an element link here. I'm going to link on state. I'm going to call it state. And I want to link on everything, every other chart, so that if I click on a certain state in the chloropleth, I want the other charts to cascade that selection or filter. Okay. So let's say I want to click on Texas. I'm now filtering on Texas, which means that all of the other charts are getting filtered for just Texas as well, as we can see. So this now shows just Texas instead of all the other states. This shows just Texas, and this shows just Texas. So again, not the most earth-shattering capability, but certainly for turning Webby documents into something more akin to what someone might consider a dashboard, it's a huge thing, and it's great for analysis. To undo it, simply right mouse click on that, or right mouse on the state and remove the filter. Okay, so that's it for demo number 1. Any questions?
Let's take a few questions. I was just chatting offline with Gregory, so he's actually in the process of answering to questions.
Okay.
Okay, let's take a question from. Okay, there is a question from Ayman Salem. Let me read it through. Can you share the information about which Tomcat and which SAP JVM version would be bundled in 4.3 SP2?
That I will have to rely on Gregory for if he has that information.
Yeah, so Gregory, if you don't mind answering to that.
Moving back to my slide deck.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
think let's move on, and I think Gregory
Okay.
will answer behind
Sounds
the
good.
scenes now.
Okay, so the next subject is unified workflows. So what is this talking about? Well, in 4.3, and especially those of you on 4.3 Service Pack 1, you're aware of this, that in the 4.3 initial releases, we actually ended up with having 2 different query panels based on the type of data we were accessing. So there was one for the semantic query panel, which included your universes, WIDs, BW, and HANA. And then there was a separate query panel for custom data providers, that included like Excel, any text, or freehand SQL. So it was 2 different workflows, and we wanted to align those for consistency and simplicity. And we've done that. So now in Service Pack 2, it's a single common query panel for all data sources, right? So we took the semantic one and essentially added the ability to see text in Excel and freehand SQL, and then even things like OData Web Services and Google Spreadsheets, which we're going to show you in a demo as well. So the common workflows there that you can select the objects, you can add filters, you can preview and run the query. So that's just huge from a, trying to keep it simple versus complex for the end users. Once you've done that, then you also have the ability to change object properties for all of your data sources to include universes and HANA, which is huge, right? So if you bring some data in, and let's look at something we'll show you later, something like year, right? It's numeric, so it might initially be pulled in as a measure because it's a numeric field. So you want to change that to a string and have it as a dimension instead. So that capability is all there in those right side design panels that I just talked about when we talked about user interface differences. And you'll see how easy it is to build them. And then in the query panel, you're doing the creation of the query. You used to be able to do this in the query panel, but now you do it in the report, which really makes more sense to me, frankly, to see the results that are brought back and then do your object property changes.
Definitely. And by the way, Gregory, who's answering all the questions right now, he's known as a LinkedIn user, so there's no name associated to him. So it's the unknown LinkedIn user is actually Gregory, and he's the one answering to all the questions. And then Patrick as well, I just got a message where my daughter is following us on YouTube today. And she's sick, she's staying at home, and so she says, Dad, it's cool you're on YouTube. No, I'm just kidding. She says, Dad, you're just too old to be on YouTube. But so that's cool.
So I guess I can't claim to be a YouTube star to my children then.
That's what I try to claim, but although we've got 500 people, I say it's not bad, but she says, no, just to all the standards of all the famous guys on YouTube, you're not 10,000 or more, so not good.
You need to be wearing those glasses more, Bruno. It's more intrusive.
I agree.
Okay. All right, so the change object properties and just some examples of what you can or can't change. For the most part, you can pretty much change everything. In universes, Webby, and HANA and BW, though, you cannot change the qualification or associated dimensions. Other than that, though, you're pretty good to go in terms of changing aggregation methods or descriptions or names and data types, of course. It does occur in the side panel. Again, we'll show you that, right? But then another nice thing is in the tooltip for the object, it will show both the actual value that came from the data source as well as the new value. So as you can see in that box there, there's the initial value and the current value so that you'll know, from a metadata quality standpoint, you'll know where this thing came from, right? And then the display object name will also happen once after you've done the changing by the user. You can see it in the query panel, but here it's simply saying that unlike the early 4.3 releases, you don't change in the query panel itself. Okay, Webby Rich Client. So once again, back in Service Pack 2. So you'll see when we pull up the query panel that there's an option for local. So local data providers of text and Excel. And the other key thing for the Zabo folks out there is that you can refresh on the server. So you don't have to refresh the local. You can actually pull it in and refresh it on the server itself. So 0 admin to pull that in and start doing your Zabo mode of Webby Rich Client. So for those who love Webby Rich Client, you're back in business. Then some usability enhancements that we put in. So first, we can now edit variables directly in the Build and Properties tab. So the second of the two tabs, panels that we showed earlier. And there's a non-modal addition of those variables that lets you do name, qualification, description, and the formula, which right now is displayed in kind of a monospace font, which you may recall when we tried to do the Autohide with the formula. But you can still open the broader formula editor, and you might want to do that because we've done a lot of cool stuff there. So we now have colored text in the formula editor. We've also got auto completion of functions and parentheses management. We have added line numbers, and we can wrap lines now. There's an undo, redo, shortcuts, all sorts of good stuff. So I think you'll find when you start playing with the formula editor that it's as powerful as ever, if not more so, because it's got more functionality to help you with your formula creation and the wrapping of lines and auto completions and things like that. Prompts and input controls. This is another user requested change that we put in there. So now the prompt dialog box gets split into two different panels. So on the left, you see the actual question, the prompt, and then on the right, you've got your ability to select values. Another key thing is that in the left-hand side, as you are selecting, you'll see that laundry list being built out so that you don't lose track if it's a huge list of values and you're scrolling down and you're not sure if you did or didn't select something. It'll all show up in the left-hand side under the prompt. So it just gives you more awareness of what you're doing from your prompting standpoint, and it's very nice. From an input control perspective, we've allowed for the resizing of the input control dialog box so that you don't have, text that you're not seeing on the right-hand side of that. And also you can display the hierarchy tree from which you're selecting for that input control as well. So just, again, nice user interface, user experience enhancements that I think are great from a usability standpoint. Another key one, which may have annoyed a lot of you as it did me, the refresh warning messages that we have, you can see them in the left-hand side. They could ultimately stack up pretty high, right? So now you can reduce the number of the warnings by actually putting a factor to how much partial content you want loaded, and also have a no data retrieved warning section. And so as you can see then in the middle, you can see that Service Pack 2 can show, instead of fully separate cautionary boxes for all of these things, it rolls them up so that the partial content loaded appears under a header and all the different messages are there. So it saves space, less intrusive, less annoying, frankly. And so the icon for the partial refresh warning is still displayed in the toolbar. It's just that you don't have all of that wasted space. The format painter is back as well, which I know a lot of you like. I do as well, certainly when I'm using Excel, but also Webby. Again, back to dashboard design principles. It's great that we can share the formatting easily without having to do it by 3 or 4 steps. Just hit the paintbrush and copy the format. You can also switch to another document now. So if you're doing, if you're looking at a long refresh rate on one of your documents and you wanted to start to open another one to start to do work, you can do that. So that's another back in Service Pack 2. There's a date time picker that we have. So if you're doing date and time selection, you can manually type it in and it'll be auto-corrected for you by the calendar. And you also, for those who prefer to use the date picker with the calendar, you can do that too. And there's an apply now button in the build then data sections of the design panel. So you can do it immediately or not have any change to the server whatsoever yet. So fold and unfold, we've seen that already. Again, on the upper left corner, you'll see what the fold breaks are, what the values are that you're doing the fold on. And then as you mouse down into the table itself, you'll see the chevron to do the folding and unfolding. Dialog boxes, we've also, as I mentioned for the input controls, we've allowed for most of the dialog boxes that pop up now to be resized, maximized, and moved around as well. So again, just from a nice usability standpoint. Another key thing, if you're in the reading mode, so whenever we open a document and we're in reading mode, not design mode, we've simplified and better organized the menu. So it comes down to file options. So you've got your save, undo, redo, export, printing, sending to inbox, help and about, all that good stuff. Then there's the query refresh section. Then under analyze, there's the ability to do filtering, drilling, showing of changes, the data change tracking, all that good stuff. And then from a display standpoint, we've already played with freezing of headers in that. And then there's a fold, so you can do it, fold and unfold everything. So that's a toggle button for that to do all. And then presentation mode we played with as well. And then on the far right side of the user interface, you may recall, I clicked on the reading to turn into design mode, or you can use this drop-down list to specifically say what you want to get to. And also a little hint for a slide that's coming soon. Look at Alt 1, Alt 2, and Alt 3. So you've got keystrokes to do this as well. So shortcuts are an option for you too. And there's the slide. So shortcuts are back for both Windows and Mac. And so, again, I think, Bruno, you'll provide these slides, right? If folks want them. So you'll be able to see.
Yeah, definitely. We'll provide the slides, and as well as you can actually visit our virtual booth.
There you go.
We're working to upload the slides. So since you sent us a little bit late in the presentation, I'm not sure if it's on yet. Shame on you, Patrick.
I know, my apologies.
Shame on you, really. And so, but I know that Chris and the team is actually going to put it on the virtual booth, so you can get it there.
Okay.
And if not, just put a chat, and then we'll send it to you, or visit Wiiisdom with 3i's.com. And then there you can actually leave a message, and we can always send it to you as well. So
good deal. So, I mean, to me, this is huge because, since my early days of Webby, no matter what tool I'm in, I right mouse click all the time, and I do a lot of keystrokes as well. So, it doesn't always work for me in Excel. It's sometimes useful, but not always. But, I always loved it in Webby, and, so it's nice to see the shortcuts back, as well as the contextual menus that we have with Webby in the right mouse click. Customization features that we've had, we've added in. So we've got features that will allow you to hide certain user interface components. It's in the BI, so you can change the BI platform repository. You can hide local things. You can hide web services. You can hide the ability to go to Google Drive. You can hide data sources from the users if you want, and also hide the ability to export or to apply things to schedules and publications as well. So again, for those of you who like to keep a little tighter rein on your end users, this is certainly a nice way for you to do that. And then the semantic layer, right? So in the IDT, this is huge. You now are able to define a geo dimension at the universe level. So it's not something you have to do at the report level now. That's a big, big deal. It is only by latitude and longitude still, but that's okay, because that's the way you have to do it at the Webby front end piece now. So, but again, simplifying it for the end user who's not as familiar with the more complex capabilities of Webby, it's nice that you can actually do this at the universe level. New data connections, right? A huge list here, which I won't recite for you ad nauseum, but I guess, certainly Snowflake is a key thing that has been asked for quite a bit. Cloudera I see popping up a lot as well. So again, you'll have this list and you can take a look at the new things that we're doing, as well as those that are no longer supported. So Excel 10, Access 2010, things that are probably pretty long in the tooth for you to even have on your machines at this point anyway. We will not be supporting those. Yes.
Look, Patrick, there are a lot of awesome stuff in 4.2 SP2, like the geo mapping, all the connectivity is really, really good.
Yep, I agree.
So this is going to be very helpful for so many customers. That's very, very good. I was just chatting with our Patrick offline, who'll be presenting after the session around the upgrade, or on the session,
right?
The upgrade to 4.3 SP2, and he was just telling me, Bruno, it's it's unfortunate that SAP is actually not promoting more SP2 because it's a great release. So
So I agree.
And
Well, but here
I
we
would
are.
say he knows his stuff. So
Here we are. Here we are.
he
touting
says
it
it's a
now.
hell of a release. That's what his wording is.
I like it. I like it.
No, I agree with
And
it.
when Patrick says that, that's a great thing to know too. So,
Definitely.
all right, SDKs, all that good stuff. So, first thing we have is we have Webby UI extensions that are back. So you can extend the user interface by adding your own code in side panels, toolbars, and perspectives, right? The creation of the extension has also been simplified. One key thing though, for those who do love Webby Rich Client, it's not yet supported there, but it will be. And then we've updated the documentation as well. So it's easy for you to do these extensions. We also have certainly something that we introduced in 4.2, but we have some custom elements, right? So we've enhanced the interface to how you select those custom elements once you enable them within your Webby environment. It does have official support of Webby JavaScript APIs, and it's something that we continue to work with partners. Specifically right now, the two biggies are Need4Viz and Galileo from a mapping standpoint.
Yep.
And we'll show you some of those because there's also another big announcement related to Need4Viz and Service Pack 2.
Yeah, definitely. And they make actually the dashboards a lot more interactive. And then
Exactly.
Galileo, also does excellent work around
Yeah, their
mapping.
mapping work is fantastic. Yep. Okay, so from a RESTful web services perspective, we've got new or we've updated the APIs for shared elements and for report descriptions and hidden reports. And then we have new OData APIs to retrieve metadata, retrieve data, and then it's not a full OData service, right? So operators are not supported at this point. I'm not sure if they will be, but it's enough for you to do the Webby OData bit. And then that's a good point. I forgot to mention this when we were talking about OData earlier. We talked about how in the very, very beginning, how OData was going to replace the query as a web service and document as a web service, right? So in so doing, 4.2 documents that have query as a web service or document as a web service will still function perfectly fine in 4.3, but you will not be able to edit those web services. OData is going to replace those capabilities. And also, you'll see the use case that we play with to push the OData into Excel, for instance. And you might say, why do that if I have LiveOffice? Well, LiveOffice is on a deprecated path in terms of new development. And so at some point in the near future, it will probably stop being offered as part of the BI suite. I don't know when that is. I'm not saying it's officially end of life or anything. I'm simply saying that it exists right now, but it's deprecated in terms of getting any new love and attention and money. So the OData capability can help replace that, as well as analysis for Office, which is another Office plugin capability that we have. Okay, so back to Need4Viz, right? So it's available as of 4.3 Service Pack 2, which is December, right? We have a kind of a freemium offer from Need4Viz, and it'll be valid for 2 years. And that offer is that you'll be able to, and as Bruno already said, it's great for dashboarding. As Gregory likes to say, right, if Webby's great for ad hoc queries and interactive reporting and dashboarding, then if you want to move into the data visualization world or the data exploration world, then Need4Viz is a great way to help you do that. And so it's anything you might need for BI. And the key thing here is that what you'll get is 7 free content types that you'll have available from Need4Viz for 2 years with this freemium offer. So it's scrolling table, a pivot table, a SAM key chart, which I hear offered or asked for quite a bit, radio button, circle packing, OpenStreetMap. So, if you don't go Galileo, if you like OpenStreetMaps, which we've had before, then that's something that's back here with Need4Viz, and traffic lights as well. And you can see the limitations on them, but still, it's free for you to use for 2 years with Service Pack 2. So I think that's kind of a nice little.
Are you trying to be Santa Claus or something like that, Patrick?
Exactly. Okay, now it's time for demo 3, and I somehow skipped demo 2, which I'm realizing now that in the slides they must have been hidden. What all we really missed was the OData conversation that I just had, and I'm going to show you that as well. So,
And we've got about 10 minutes, Patrick.
okay, that's perfect. This is nothing too crazy here. All right, so let me stop sharing and let's try this one more time.
And I see in the meantime, Gregory, the LinkedIn user, is actually answering to some bunch of questions, so that's pretty cool. Thank you very much. So yeah, you're on, Patrick.
Okay, and of course my time expired, so here we are back. Okay. Hold on one sec. Okay, so let's do this. In the interest of just 10 minutes, let's look at one. So first thing I'll do is I will open up our recent document. And just to show you how easy it is to do, I will go to the raw data page. In design mode. And I will right mouse click on the table. Get my contextual menu up and copy a link for OData Web Services. So you can see how to do an open document generation as well. But here we're just going to create this as an OData Web Service. And so now, and it's sort of counterintuitive, but what if I wanted to go back and create a new Webby document? So I'm creating a new Webby doc. I get my query panel up. And what are my choices? So one of my choices is web services. So I will use that web service to try and build a new Webby document. The reason I'm wanting to show you this is because this is kind of a first step for us getting to other web service types as well. So right now with Service Pack 2, it's just the Webby OData web service that we can consume. But we are moving down the path of being able to consume many more different web services that come even from third parties. So this is sort of a just make you aware that it's there kind of a thing. So let's click OK. Let me paste that in. Oh, and there's a server bounce problem in the back, which I did not get bounced before the demonstration started. So I can't actually fully show that now. I apologize. But the key thing there is you see how easy it was to create that OData link, right? Not a whole lot of steps to it. You simply right mouse click on the data set that you want to turn into an OData, and you build it there. If I were to...
Hey, Patrick, maybe we have to ship to all the audience some popcorn so that they can all enjoy popcorn while you're trying to load things at the speed of a snail.
Exactly.
And,
is that my new nickname, Snail?
Next time we meet you, we'll probably bring you some bunch of popcorn. So
sounds good. Okay. All right. So just a few more minutes. So let me do this. Let me pull up that document one more time and just show a quick custom elements aspect. So since this was our kind of what are some cool visuals, we'll add some more real quick. Okay, so on this page, I'm going to go to design mode. And this time, I'm going to add a custom element. And this is that dialog box we talked about, right? And we've got fully loaded need for viz capabilities. If you were to do that freemium offer, you'll see some of these, including the sand key chart. So let's go ahead and look at what that might look like. So I'm going to put that here. So now we've got a nice sand key chart. I'll blow that up a little bit. Let's come over here to the properties. So we can look at all the different things we can do with that. We can edit this name if we wanted to for the block. Again, these design panels are huge in terms of what you're going to want to be doing with the document. Let's open the dimensions and measures, see if there's anything we want to do there. And seeing none, let's just go ahead and back and do the basics. What do we want to put in this thing? So I know that, this will not be, for those of you who are true analysts, this is not the best SAM key description in the world, but it'll work. So let's do lines, drag and drop, and then let's do stores. Drag and drop. And then the size of the flow, we might want to do with a measure. So let's do number of products, or the count of products. And then let's apply. And boom, that's simple, right? Again, not the best example of what a real SAM key might want to look at or what you want to measure with it, but I think you get the gist. These need for viz visuals are great additions to Webby from more of that dashboarding visualization standpoint, data exploration with the tabular types that they have, and 7 of them are free for you with Service Pack 2. And with that, I will say any other questions, and thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you very much, Patrick. So let's just take 1 or 2 questions because we'll need to move on with the second Patrick of the day, Patrick Perrier, who's based in London. And Camille is asking, what about Live Office? So is there anything specific for Live Office?
So as I mentioned, it's on a deprecated development path, so there's nothing new with Live Office per se. In fact, if anything, with Service Pack 2, you'd want to start looking at how to ponder using the OData instead of Live Office, or start to look at analysis for Office as an alternative.
And around SAC, so I assume the connectivity, there's some improvements with 4.3 SP2?
Yes. The live universe connectivity to take a universe or a Webby document as a data source for SAC gets better from the enterprise readiness standpoint each release.
And will, I saw a question, will 4.3 SP2 be supported by SAP Private Cloud Edition, PCE?
It will.
Okay, awesome.
In fact,
yeah.
There are a couple slides on that if you want me to show those real quick.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
Let's
Right.
probably 2 more minutes and then we'll have
absolutely.
to shift to
Not
Patrick.
a problem. Not a problem. It's a lot of slides that were shared with me. So, all right, let's get that going. Product direction. So this is key to that argument, right? So what we're seeing here, the timeline, right? Service Pack 2 is coming out in December. Service Pack 1 came out last December. We're now moving to a point release every year. And that's also included then with PCE, right? So that flows into that as well. So we're showing, Service Pack 3 in 2022 and Service Pack 4 in 2023. That's the extent of our planning right now. I'm not saying that Service Pack 4 is the last, because we're, of course, going to maintain BOE until at least 2027. Where we're going from here, we're bringing the data manager back. We've got integration with Google Drive. If I'd had more time, I would have shown you how to access a Google Sheet within Google Drive to source a Webby document. We're going to be doing the same with OneDrive and SharePoint. So this SharePoint integration is not like the old SharePoint kit where you're rendering BOBJ in SharePoint. It's using content stored in SharePoint as data sources for Webby documents. So that's key to understand. We're adding, trend lines are coming in. We're going to keep improving dashboard type creation within Webby and the interaction as well. Custom tooltips, keep on the formatting capabilities. We'll keep adding to it. And that's kind of I think you see the general direction, right? It's keep it simple, keep adding to the UI and UX capabilities, keep adding to dashboarding and visualization standpoints so that you've got the best of the analytics side of Webby with the best of kind of the visual world that a lot of people want to see these days. And then this is what maintenance looks like. So 4.2 Service Pack 9 is the terminal service pack for 4.2. supported right now through priority 1 until the end of 2024. 4.3 then is set to have priority 1 end in 2027, although of course that could be extended. And you say then what happens after that? Well, we're trying to move everyone to BOBJ Private Cloud Edition after 2027. And what is that? It is simply a cloud managed version of BOE. All of the tools that you're using today that aren't deprecated are still going to be there in BOE PCE. As it is right now, it's Service Pack 1, but to Bruno's question and point, BOBJ or BOE PCE will become Service Pack 2. And for those of you who've installed it, it's at you have a choice of when you want that to happen. So BI 4.3 is the place to go, all that good stuff. So that's it, Bruno. And I will, I'll turn it over to the other Patrick. But thank you all for your time again. A lot of information. It's a great release. So please look at the slide, download for anything that was missed in the time. But there's some great stuff to be had in there.
So Patrick, it was a great pleasure to have you today. And next time we meet, I'll just bring you popcorn and snails as well. So thank you very much, Patrick.
Popcorn. All right, thanks, guys.
Yes, the snails are good. So, trust me. Thank you very much, Patrick.